Hi, this is Christine from Hokuma's Sewing and Vacuum, and I am here at the Baby Lock Chorus, and we are going to talk about piecing today, and we're going to talk about some basic piecing designs. Now, this is a traditional 9-patch. It's called that simply because it has 9 blocks in it, or patches. Now, you can see that they're just alternating, and we have 3 rows and 3 columns, little basic math, and you know that that is a 9-patch. So I'm going to show you how we construct that. Now I am going to be using the laser light on the Baby Lock Chorus. It's one of its features that I just absolutely love. This laser light is available on the Baby Lock Chorus, on the Baby Lock Radiance, and the Baby Lock Altair. There are a few Baby Lock models in previous generations that also have it. You'll find it on the Unity, the Crescendo, and on the Solaris as well. This is one of my favorite features on this machine. I've also got on it my digital dual feed foot. This is a superior walking foot. If you can see back here, that is a rubberized belt or a rubber belt, and I can tell that to come to the party, or I can flip a little switch back here and tell it I don't want you to come to the party. But today I'm going to leave it there. It's going to help me feed the fabric through and keep everything nice and straight. Now, I want a 1/4 inch on my seams for this project, so which is what we do for most quilting. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this line, and I can do it over on my control panel here to my right, and I'm just going to hit the plus until I line it up with my 1/4 inch. Okay, now if I stop just a hair before, that's going to give me a scant 1/4 inch. I'm going to go ahead and go with a regular 1/4 inch today. So what I am going to do, of course, is just line up my blocks. Now you can use pins here if you want to, perfectly appropriate. When they're small blocks like this, a lot of times, until I start putting the rows together, I don't worry about pins. I just kind of finesse it just a little bit to make sure all of my edges have lined up. These have done a nice job. And so then I can put them right here. Ooh, I want to start with what I call a leader. Now, a leader is simply just a piece of fabric that is used to control my threads. I don't always have to use one. In fact, a lot of times I don't. But the thing I like to do when I'm piecing, especially if I'm doing smaller piecing or more intricate piecing, is if I use this leader, it's going to control my threads for me. So the little knot that you can sometimes get when you get started, it's going to be in this. So it really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to leave it attached as I sew. Okay, so I'm just going to, and I'm using my start and stop button. The machine does come with a foot control, but I prefer to use my start and stop button. There's a lot of reasons that you might prefer the start and stop button. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but you'll be surprised at how quick you get used to it. I personally do not have normal feeling in my right foot anymore, and it gets stressed very quickly. So being able to sew with the start and stop button allows me to continue to sew without having to worry about that fatigue. And you can see here, I have a very nice 1/4 inch. I'm going to go ahead and snip those threads. Now, if I were doing a large quilt and not just a sampler like I am at the moment, I would actually just keep piecing those two together until I was ready to add my 3rd piece to all my rows. That's called chain piecing. Okay. Now, I haven't cut my thread. My leader is still doing its job and controlling my thread. Now, I'm going to add my 3rd piece to this row for this block, and I'm just alternating colors. So I've got my orange, my yellow, and then I'm going to put my other yellow on it. And these are batiks. Batiks don't have a wrong side and a right side. They are, both sides are the right side, which is kind of fun. Now, on some patterns, you have to pay attention because it would be easy to get your pattern upside down. But when I'm just doing square blocks, it truly doesn't matter. It's one of the things I love about them, besides the vivid colors. Okay, I'm just going to put that up close to my needle and hit my start button. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop that. I'm going to cut my thread. Now, cutting my thread on this machine is super easy. It's just a push of the button, which I absolutely love. It helps keep me from having to fight long tails, which is something I very much appreciate. And here we go. Now, the next step is that I would take this to the iron, and I'm going to press my seams to the orange. I'm going to consider my orange my darker fabric, and so I'm just going to press those to the dark side. That is usually what I do when I'm quilting. Now, it is also possible to come in here and press these seams open, and there are going to be people that tell you to do that in patterns. I would follow what the pattern tells you to do because there may be a reason for it. But if I do this, then I'm going to be able to nest these together when I grab my other piece. Now you see on this one, we have pressed into the orange, so it goes in. Now ignore the extra little lines there. Then when we put our other piece on, you can see here, those are going the opposite direction. And so what happens then is when I bring these together, I am going to nest them. That's what that's called, nesting. That's when one goes one direction and one of those seams goes the other direction. And this is exactly where I'm going to put my pin so that it stays together, okay? The other thing I'm going to check and do is I'm going to make sure my corners are together. So in something this small, a lot of times I will just do this seam, okay? I know folks that are very, very skilled that don't necessarily put the pin in it, but I find if I don't put the pin on it, it slips on me. So put the pin in there. Okay, and that's just going to hold it for me. And you can see I have the opportunity to come back over here to that corner. And I am putting a pin in it. Now, I am putting my pins in vertically, not horizontally. And the reason for that is this distorts the fabric the least. If I put my pins in this way, horizontally, you can see it distorts my fabric. And it might be harder to get a true seam. That's why I do that. The other reason I like to do it this way is it makes it easy to remove the pins as I come to them. Okay, so I'm going to again start with my leader just like we did before. We'll get started. Now you may notice that when I stop, my foot is automatically coming up and my needle is going down. That is because on this machine, I have the pivot function engaged, which is another one of my favorites functions on this machine. So what that means is that when I start again, my foot will automatically come down and will get going. When I stop again, the needle will go down, the foot will come up. And I'll do that here in just a moment to show you. So we got started, stop, needle down, foot up. I can turn that fabric if I want to. Don't want to in this case, so I'm just going to do a few more inches, or well, a little more. A few more stitches, pull my pin out. You never want to run over pins, and that's really important to know. Way back in the day, I can remember my grandmother instructing me to put pins in this direction, and she pinned a whole lot more than I'm pinning here. And that if you put them in this way, the machine would just automatically go over them, like it would know it's there and take a little skip. That is not the case. You will break needles, you will bend needles, and cause yourself all kinds of fits in the long run. You get away with it, so to speak, until you don't. So I'm going to really discourage you from trying to run over pins. It's much better to remove them before you get to them. Okay. And now we check our seams. Wow, look at that. They're matching beautifully at the corners, which is exactly what we want to see. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my third piece, get this on here, and then we'll be back in just a moment. We'll get it sewn for you. Here we go. Again, we're going to put our pieces together. We're going to put that pin right in our seam to keep it together. And I'm going to readjust that just a little bit. Oops. Guess I should keep it on camera for you so you can just kind of see how I'm finessing things to make them behave. Okay, everybody's looking good. Okay. Again, I'm going to use my leader to get it started. That little ding you heard was the machine telling me that I needed to lower the presser foot because I had raised it. If you'll look right here, this is a red light. The red light tells me it is not ready. Put my presser foot down, and now we're ready to go again. And I am just using that red laser light as my guide for my 1/4 inch. Okay. We now have our 9 patch all done. And then once I take that to the iron, this is what she's going to look like. All ready to go. Now there's some other things you can do with this kind of a block, but this is our basics. And once you mastered this, you can go on to some of the others, and we're going to show you another couple of designs here in a few videos coming up. Thank you for listening. This is Christine with Hokuma's Sewing and Vacuum, Redding, California. You can find us at hokumas.net. You can also find us at Hokuma's Sewing on Facebook. If you liked the video, you're finding some value in it, we would love for you to share it. Perhaps consider subscribing. It really helps us a bunch, lets the algorithm know that we're providing content that you're finding helpful. Look forward to seeing you soon.